Okay, so today we're going to talk about different types of welding flames and how you want to set your torch up for doing different welding processes. And so we talked about a little earlier this year the welding tip and the chart that Victor comes out with that has recommended tip sizes, oxygen levels, acetylene levels, and how to set up the torch. And so right now I've got the acetylene set at 3 pounds and I've got the oxygen set at 5 pounds, and that's within the ranges for a size 1 tip that I'm going to show you the difference in different types of flames and how you want to get your flame set up for different processes. So what we'll talk about, like Mr. Oliver talked about in one of the earlier videos, if you turn these just a little bit at a time, one little notch, that should give you a pretty decent flame. And that's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Matter of fact, it's not good at all. So I shut off the oxygen and you can see all that black stuff. And what that means is we've got no oxygen, and so it's not going to burn very well at all. But what we want to do, what we never want to do, is we don't want to have our acetylene, and this is all straight acetylene right now, but you never turn your acetylene up to the point where that flame separates from the tip. Okay, that's no good. That's way too much. And so what we really want, if you're just working with acetylene, what you really want is you just don't want black smoke. And right now I've got a little bit of black smoke. So that's why I want to turn up my acetylene to get rid of most of that black smoke. Now without oxygen, you're always going to have a little bit of black smoke. So get that going out there, but you want it to be kind of a calm burning, but get rid of the black. Okay? So right about there. And this is all something you just got to kind of work with, and you'll figure out where your settings need to be. And then we start adding our oxygen really slowly. If you add it really fast, you're going to put your fire out. If you add it really slowly, you're going to be able to adjust it right down to where you want to be. Okay, so you can see a major change right now in the amount when I just added a little teeny bit of oxygen. Again, remember, this is pure oxygen, or as pure as you're going to get. So this is 99% pure, maybe even higher than that. The air that you breathe is about 27% oxygen, I believe. It's just not very pure. So by adding pure oxygen to this acetylene, you're getting a really clean burn, and it burns really hot. Okay? So in order to get a good welding flame, what you want to do is you want to pull this feather down. Now right here, this is one of the flames I want to talk about. This is a carburizing flame. Okay, we've got more carbon, and everything that has substance has carbon in it. Okay, and so anything solid, any gas with substance has carbon in it. And so right now, with that feather sticking out there, that blue flame that's 2-3 inches long, that's excess carbon, stuff that's not burning up completely. Okay, and so what we want to do is add oxygen to this flame, or to this mixture, mixing in our torch, mixing torch here. We want to add oxygen until we get that flame down to what we call neutral. Okay? And so if we got a little bit of a feather there, we pull that down, and hopefully the camera's picking this up pretty well, until we are neutral. And so if I put that in front of my dark shirt, maybe you'll be able to see that a little bit better. Okay? So that's pretty much neutral right there. And this is a good clean tip. We cleaned it before we got started. Earlier video, we showed you how to clean a tip. But you'll notice, and there's a little bit of air flowing here, and so our flame is moving around. But a nice, quiet flame. It's kind of bouncing around a little bit because of the wind in the building. It's actually kind of blowing a little bit. But you want a nice long feather. You want a nice quiet flame, and this is neutral. So that's carburizing, too much carbon. A flame like this you would use if you were going to be doing some hard surfacing, making something harder. You might use a carburizing flame, and you wouldn't be using a size 1 tip probably. You'd probably be using a rosebud tip. But when you're welding, if you want to fuse 2 pieces of metal, if you have a feather like that or too much carbon and you try to weld with that, all that extra carbon is going into your weld puddle and into your metal, and that's just not, that makes for an unsound weld because you're infusing something other than just molten metal. So when you're welding like this, you're trying to fuse two pieces together. So you want to make it neutral. You want to make it quiet so you've got good control of it. And that's neutral. Now if I show you an oxidizing flame, which means I've got too much oxygen, okay, you can see the flame starts to make a little bit of a convex cone. You can hear it hissing a little bit. It shortens up the feather. And this is oxidizing. Sometimes if you're brazing, we might go with a little bit of an oxidizing flame. But if you're welding, if you're trying to fuse two pieces of metal together, meaning you melt one piece and then you melt another and you let those two puddles float together, if you've got too much oxygen in that, then that excess oxygen is going to show up in your weld, and it's going to be very porous. It's going to look like a sponge. If you have too much oxygen in something, it's going to oxidize quicker, meaning it's going to corrode or rust or whatever, and it's just not going to be firm. It's not going to be a good fused piece of metal. You'll have excess oxygen in there. So 90% of the time, what you're after in our shop for the assignments that we give you is a neutral flame, just a nice, quiet, clean burning flame. You don't want to leave a bunch of black cooties all over the place. And the only way you can get this if you have a nice clean tip and you've got your oxygen and acetylene set up on the tank right, and then you learn how to adjust your mixture to fine tune it into where you want it to be. And every tip's a little bit different. The longer they get used, the more they get clean. That orifice gets a little bit bigger. And so with each unit that you use, you're going to have to kind of adjust and be able to manipulate these valves to get the flame that you want. So this is what we're after, a neutral flame, 95% of the time.